Hey, so a couple of the sites dropped their props. We're just going to skim through it and look at the stuff that's worth betting right now. And we'll do updates as new stuff comes out. But getting right into it, the main event, nothing really of note. The D Rod Magny fight, though, there is definitely something that you're going to want to bet. The finish only for Daniel Rodriguez. They dropped at one minus 190 on DraftKings, and the Magny side is available at 250. Bet online. In my opinion, the D Rod side is definitely the good side of the bet at minus 190. Would just slam it. You're going to be able to arb it. You can do it right now and bet online, but even if not, this is going to change. Won't be around for very long. They don't have high maxes anyways, so you just basically max bet it if you can. Next fight, Nate Van Ness, Tagir Bekov, nothing really of note. Shea Sherman, Josh Parisian, the time props are what people were looking at, but it has already moved. I took a large play on the fight goes to decision at 250. You can see it's been bid down twice now. Can be arbed here on DraftKings and also on Betway, and I believe on Five Dimes as well. And it's only going to move closer. If you look at their previous fights, like Chase Sherman against Jared Vanderer, which is kind of a similar match, although Chase Sherman was a significant dog there. See their fight goes to decision was somewhere around plus 160, and I expect that's probably where this one's going to close. You see a big sloppy heavyweight match, and you think it's got to finish, but historically that hasn't been the case. And we can look at specific ones, like the most recent one by Chase Sherman and Josh Parisian. Those ones both finished, and I think that's probably why they opened it up where they did. Bet online, but either way, okay, not any value left over. Moving on to the next fights, we got the Dawson Madsen fight. I think that there was something that was sort of worth betting here, but not something that you can arb. You can see that they opened up the TKO and the submission very closely lined here. Far better on the Madsen KO than on Bet Online, and worse on the Madsen submission. And they also staggered the round props a little bit more front loaded. And so the most efficient way of betting this, if you wanted to take advantage of it, and I'm not going to say that it's definitely a great bet, but the Mark Madsen round one KO is plus 3,000 on DraftKings, and I suspect that that's probably a little bit too much. If you look historically, about half of his wins have come from KO, half from submission, but he's up against someone in Grant Dawson who's very solid with the BJJ and is, it's going to be a pretty unlikely outcome. So if you had any inclination towards the Madsen at 800, and that does seem reasonably generous in the first place, I wouldn't bet it, but the KO is definitely where that value is coming from, and specifically the round one KO. Minner Nerdenbeek, there was one that I know a lot of people were looking out for, and that was Derek Minner round one submission. You can see just the round one overall is paying significantly more on DraftKings than on Bet Online. But this Bet Online price is absolute shit, so I wouldn't put too much stock into that on its own. But what I would really like to bet, and I have already bet, was the Minner round one sub, which doesn't actually show up here, but you can see it's been bid down from 600, 550, 500, and it's still available on DraftKings at plus 700, which, hold on, let's see if it's still plus 700. So yeah, submission 700. It opened at 800, slammed that for as much as they would let me get down. It seems, not that intuitive why a plus 700 or a plus 800 on a guy who's on the money line, only a plus 180 would be a good bet. But then you look at his, his history, and you can see it's almost all of his wins, almost all of his fights, round one submission, round one submission, round one submission against Terrence McKinney. I mean, these aren't like low level fighters. He's just popping out of the gate real fast, going hard. And if he doesn't get that first round submission, it seems like, historically he has lost at a very high rate. He has like round two submission here, but then going back round one sub, round two sub, round one sub, round one sub. And all the way down, you can see it's somewhere around 90% of his finishes are round one submission, and somewhere around 80% of his wins overall are round one submission. So, when 80% of your historic wins are coming from it, but you're getting plus 800 on a guy who's plus 180, it's definitely a good value, and I don't think that's going to last at plus 700. You can see it's already gotten blasted down to plus 500 on Bet Online, and it's probably still reasonable value in my opinion. The Maverick Shayna Young, that's already gotten bid down. Inside the distance opened at plus 125. Maverick at plus 135, and both those got hit up pretty hard. Not much left to work with. Lopez Batista, didn't really see anything notable there. The Jinyu Fry one though, there was something on that, and that is the Jinyu Fry decision only, which is a very reasonable minus 115 on DraftKings, and the reason why is because they opened the decision price on Frey significantly higher than on Bet Online, and the Vienna decision significantly lower. And if we look on 5 times, we'll see that these are probably a little bit closer to correct. And I expect that that's going to change, and you're going to be able to arb out of that position at minus 115. I wouldn't take this on its own. This is heavily juiced, even though it is quite a bit better. The 165 isn't so great. It's just that in conjunction with the Vienna decision being so bad means that the Frey decision only is actually quite good relative to markets and prices. And I think it's actually, taking the stats out of the equation, if Frey wins, it's almost always going to be decision. So Vienna's win conditions are much more tied up in finishes, and they're not that far from even money overall. So I quite like it. Next, the Almeida fight's canceled, unfortunately. Munoz, Shalinian, nothing of note. Candelor, Hadley, nothing of note. Pascual, Vidal. I would want to watch this Ramona Pascual decision at 225, I believe it is. Not that it's a great price or anything, but the money line has shifted significantly, and we saw in an interview that she was emphasizing that she was more committed to point fighting, and that she thought she had the recipe, or that she knew what the judges were looking for. And I think the general sentiment of that interview was you would expect that her not to really be going for the kill, but just trying to outpoint. And her money line has also dropped, whereas these prices are consistent with what it was before the money line changed. So 225 is definitely going to be something of interest when other sites start releasing the props. And that's all on the UFC event so far. We'll be making more videos as soon as FanDuel drops their prices, which should be within the next day roughly, maybe even tonight. A couple things to look out for in the future fights. You could see that Julia Budd line has been bid down. I was recommending it at 190. I got it at 190, and it's now been bid down on a couple of sites and opened up here at a much lower price. I think that's going to continue to be bid down until Julia Budd somewhere around like plus 140, plus 130. I think we're going to get an ARB there, but it's not available anymore. Not really thrilled about it at 175. The 190 was kind of borderline. What else? Ankle Live, you guys would have missed it. That was minus 210. I think it's still reasonable at minus 220. You can see it's been bid up on Bet Online, which tends to move a lot quicker than other sites, and I think that's going to continue going up. But not gonna recommend smashing it this where it's still over a month away. And the Paddy Pimblett, I think that one is probably the most solid bet going around. You can see that he opened up. The opening line here doesn't really mean all that much because it was there for all of 1 second. But yeah, there was an arb between the two sites, and they met somewhere in the middle, and it hasn't moved. But if we look historically at Paddy Pimblett fights, there's just been a strong tendency for, after the initial adjustment has been made based on the sharp betting really early, as the fight gets closer, we start to see more casual money coming in, and Paddy gets bid up to an even bigger favorite. This has been a pretty consistent trend against Rodrigo Vargas. That was a big one. Against Vendramini, not quite as big of a deal. But in almost every fight since he's been in the limelight, the fans have loved Paddy Pimblett, and they have been bidding the line. And honestly, even if you were to take that out of the equation, I just think Paddy Pimblett is just I'm not a big Paddy Pimblett fan, but I'm even less of a Jared Gordon fan. I think that's a more than fair price at minus 164. I've already max bet it on FanDuel. I think I was able to get around 1,500 down. Minus 158, still available at minus 164. Can't go wrong with it. It's pretty close to break even on a couple of sites. I think you're going to be able to arb out very reliably by buying Jared Gordon by close at somewhere around plus 200. That's all for today. I'll post another video when FanDuel releases it. If you liked, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, whatever you want to do. Thanks for watching.